Scripture for this morning is Joel, the 2nd chapter, verses 21 to 27. Do not fear, O soul, be glad and rejoice, for the Lord has done great things. Do not fear, you animals of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness are green. The trees bear its fruit, the fig tree and vine give their full yield. O children of Zion, be glad and rejoice to the Lord your God. For he has given the early rain for your vindication. He has poured down for you abundant rain, the early and the later rain as before. The threshing floors shall be full of grain. The vats shall overflow with wine and oil. I will repay you for the years that the swarming locust has eaten. The hopper, the destroyer, and the cutter, my great army, which I sent against you. You shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, who has dealt wonderfully with you. And my people shall never be put to shame. You shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I, the Lord, am your God, and there is no other. And my people shall never again be put to shame. The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Well, thank you, Gary, for offering us that wonderful reading. And a big thank you to Red Sea for playing for us this morning. And let me know that for those pieces where we had a wonderful saxophone and flute going along, the youth composed those themselves. So I think that's worthy of thanksgiving. Well, in case she's not getting a little bit later, my name is Paul Grossman. I am one of the ministers here, and because Claire is out, I get to fill in. Or I should say, you all have the pleasure of having me. But really, it is such a blessing to get to preach this morning. Part of it is because I get to do the fill-in preaching, so really, I get to share whatever I want. Which can be good or bad, depending on how you look at it, and depending on how I do it. But thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning. And as I mentioned to our kids this morning, believe it or not, Thanksgiving is on Thursday. Not Thursday 2 weeks from now, not Thursday a month from now, but Thursday this week. So it's really close. It's just around the corner. And whenever I think of Thanksgiving, I always think of the Thanksgiving meals I had growing up. My mom did it as a labor of love. She would spend all day in the kitchen. I remember the smell of the turkey as it slowly turned golden brown throughout the day, and it got harder and harder for me to wait for that meal to begin. In addition, there would be mashed potatoes, there would be rolls on our table, there would be sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes that, if we be honest, was an excuse to eat brown sugar, since my mom's recipe was take the sweet potatoes, add brown sugar till it hurts, and caramelize. Delicious. And finally, to round things out, because, you can never have too much food, we'd have some stuffing and pies on the table, too. Oh, so wonderful for the taste buds. Not so generous on the waist, unfortunately. But this is true of Thanksgiving. This is the time of year when we celebrate the abundance. We give thanks for the fruits of our labor. Our scripture reading for this morning touches on that as well, that abundance or that blessing that comes to us each year. At the same time, I think it's important to note that it also hints at that scarcity, whether that's material, emotional, or spiritual, that also haunts people at this time of year. So I think a suiting question, with Thanksgiving just around the corner, and having heard Joel this morning, will we give thanks? Do we stop there? Or does God's promise of abundance and blessing call us into a deeper relationship with the divine and with one another. Now, the prophet Joel is another minor prophet. If you were here last time I preached, I touched on Jonah, so I guess I'm just running the gamut of the minor prophets. There are 12 of them, so look forward to that to continue. So with Joel this morning, though, Joel's prophecy is written somewhere between 500 and 350 BCE. In particular, Joel is addressing Judah, the people of Judah, who are facing some sort of outside threat. Now, scholars aren't sure what this threat looks like. It could be an army of some kind, or it could be an army of locusts. Either way, not pleasant. And in either case, what we heard here is God responding to this by saying, hey, I've got you covered. Not only am I going to save you, I'm going to restore you. We're going to be in covenant together. We're going to be in good relationship. And part of that is I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to bless the land. There's going to be abundance. There's going to be tons of food. So give thanks for that. In fact, God says, you shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, who has dealt wondrously with you. For me, that doesn't sound all that different from Thanksgiving. We eat a lot of food, and we give thanks for all the ways that God has dealt wondrously with us over the past year. For those wonderful people doing good things in our lives. But the thing I love about Joel is Joel doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop with some promise of blessing and then expectation of giving thanks, and then that's it. Instead, Joel continues it. Joel says God says something more after that. And what God says is, he says, then afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. If that sounds familiar, if there's a familiar ring to that, wonderful. It probably means you've been reading your Bible. If not Joel, just the one thing about the New Testament is sometimes it covers our greatest hits. The book of Acts has the same passage. Peter says this. And Peter says it in that new community that's coming about after the resurrection of Christ. It's signaling something new. It's not just a restoration of the old, but it's giving birth to something new. So whenever we have this, whenever we see something like this, God's blessing and abundance for us then is not something that should stop at us giving thanks. God's grace, God's blessing. There's a second part. There's a response. Now for us, Thanksgiving and the fall are times of harvest. In our agricultural calendar, the growing has begun. Now we're reaping what we have sown, we're taking in for the winter, and we're celebrating the season of plenty. But in Joel, that's why I found this line so curious about all this talk of rain. In fact, Joel says, he has poured down for you abundant rain. The NIV translates it differently and says, he has given you the autumn rains in righteousness. This is not just any rain. For us, rain might be kind of dreary, but for the folks in Judah in the fall, this is the rain for the growing season. Their harvest hasn't happened yet. This is where you planted. In fact, what I love here is, I was a good Methodist, I took a look at John Wesley and John Wesley's commentary on the scriptures, and John Wesley says something along this line. He says these are the early fall rains. But pay attention to this next part, because I really do love this. Needful to mellow the earth and fit it to receive corn. Mellow the earth. That's a nice turn phrase, huh? Now, I should probably also add, when John Wesley says corn here, He's not talking about the wonderful little yellow grains that we love to slather butter and salt on and then eat off of the cob. For John Wesley, corn means just any grain. So you can always pick your preference. If you like wheats, if you like rye, pumpernickel, pick your poison. What John Wesley is saying here is the key is that these rains, these blessings, soften us. They prepare us for something new to be planted. I think I'd like to sit with that at this point. That's pretty cool. So that means this Thanksgiving, when we count our blessings, when we give thanks for the people and gifts in our lives, maybe we should ask how those are mellowing the soil of our souls. How do they prepare us for something new to grow and start in our lives and relationships? I think this is important whenever we enter a time where we're going to be celebrating any sort of abundance or blessing in our lives. Because just as many of us will be living into that abundance, be living into that blessing during that season, there are many more of us that will be living into scarcity during this time. And the question that then springs into my mind is when I think about those today who do not have enough to eat, who do not have the emotional or spiritual support they so desperately need, can we who claim that we have abundance, claim that we have blessing, say that we're blessed if we are not a blessing? Let me frame this another way. Are we yes, but people? Or are we yes and people? Let me expand on this a little bit. At the beginning of the sermon, I shared with all of you about that wonderful Thanksgiving feast that my mom prepared when I was growing up. What I didn't mention is in the years since, that same feast continues to get made. Even in the later years when there wasn't as many of us around the table, my mom would still insist on making all of this food. Now, this could come from the fact that my mom's mentality that may have been passed on is that whenever you eat, it should be, or you prepare anything to eat, it should be fit to feed an army. Could be that. But for me, I remember it being a source of frustration sometimes for me. Because sometimes I would go to my mom and I'd say, Mom, there's not going to be that many of us this year. Can't we just keep it simple and easy? We could order some takeout. We don't have to make everything. But my mom would continue to make that. And I can say up here in front of all of you, and if you see my mom, feel free to pass this along, I was wrong. I realize I missed the point. I would say, yes, this food is wonderful, but we don't need to do all this. What I didn't realize is what my mom was saying when she made this food is she was saying, I am thankful for you. I am thankful for your sister. I am thankful for my grandchildren. I am thankful for my family and my friends, and I want to show my love. It was an invitation for me to say, yes, and I love you too. How can I live into that love? Another example, to throw one more in, partially because they're here, and also because I feel so much joy this morning to have USC worshiping with us, so I'm going to pick on them a little bit if that's all right. They're a gift. Can I get an amen to that they are a gift? Amen. Wonderful. Young people are a gift in the church. And these young people are certainly a gift. Because I don't know if you've looked around recently, but millennials and Generation Z are in short supply. They don't fill our pews. And even when they do show up, we are often tempted to be yes, but people. We say, yes, we're thankful that they're here, but why don't they come more often? Yes, we're thankful that they're here, but Why don't they want to worship as I worship? We should be saying yes and. We should be saying, yes, it's wonderful to have you here. And I want to get to know you. And I want to be in a relationship with you. For you are a joy. For you are a joy. So thank you. Once again, we have to ask ourselves, what are the blessings in my life? How are they mellowing the soil of our souls? What is preparing us for something new? I'll add, for me, for this fall, for this season, it has been the tremendous outpouring that I have seen for Food for All. That is a cause for thanksgiving in me. That is a seed that has been planted in me. For when this need, this scarcity was brought up, you could have easily said, yes, there are people that are hungry. Yes, there are people who don't have enough. But if they work harder, if they were more faithful to God, then they too would have abundance. Instead, you said, yes, there are people who are hungry. Yes, there are people who have scarcity. And how can I respond? How can I be a blessing? I'm so thankful for that. So thank you. It is something where God has invited us to be a blessing. Invited us to be a blessing and respond. So my prayer this morning for all of us is that we continue to do this all year long. This doesn't have to be a Thanksgiving thing. This doesn't have to be an Advent thing. This doesn't have to be a Christmas thing. This can be an all year long thing. Whenever and wherever we see God's blessings, whenever and wherever we see God's grace abounding, I pray that we will say yes. Not only that we will say yes, but we will add in an and. Because we will be a people who respond. And when we respond, the great and wonderful thing is, the secret is we will find the Spirit there. We will find the Spirit working in us. We will find the Spirit working through us. Our sons and daughters, the young people in our midst, will give us visions for the future. Those who have a lifetime of experience, you'll notice I did not say old. I said experience. They will dream new dreams. Our communities and our churches will be blessed with new expressions of leadership. This Thanksgiving, when we gather around our tables, both large and small, with families both near and far, let us give thanks to God for our blessings. Let us see them as a new opportunity to draw closer to the divine and to one another. May those blessings soften our souls. May our thanks be seeds planted. And may those seeds be watered by the heavenly rains for a rich harvest. So, be on the lookout for those early rains. Be on the lookout for those fall rains that will mellow our spiritual grounds this Thanksgiving. Be blessed. And be a blessing. Amen.
Did you forget to call for it?
Well, part of that way that we're being invited to live into being a blessing
Maybe not.
this Advent season is that we're doing an Advent collection. You may have noticed I had some pillows up here with me. I promise it wasn't because I was tempted to maybe just nap a little bit in the pews or just kind of lean back and just relax a little bit. Our Advent collection this season is we are collecting small pillows. We are partnering with Meals on Wheels to supply small pillows for our community. Our goal is to collect 500 by December 15th. A little bit of a challenge, but I will say, good news, the glass half full part of this is we already have 100. So really, we're already 1/5 of the way there, so that's not too bad. And in addition, we also have a video about this Advent collection that will be shown.
My legs give out on me. I cannot. I make breakfast, but it's a job.
For a while, I did cook. I'm an excellent cook, but I've got enough air to do it. Barb is a phenomenal cook. We just don't have the physical capabilities of cooking.
But there are days that I don't have no pain and oh.
Only imagine.
I came to this end of town in 1972. We moved to Colorado in 1948. So,
The community is fantastic. My daughter wants me to move to Phoenix. Real bad. This is my home. I love Denver. It's a great place to live.
I can only imagine.
So, in general, we have boomers, about 10,000 of them a day turning 65, and that's nationwide. But if you look at here locally, we're going to have 1 in 4 residents in the state of Colorado that are going to be over the age of 60 very shortly. And that's unprecedented in our community. And Arapahoe County especially is seeing a need for more services, more ways for people to stay in their homes. People don't want to leave this community. They helped start this community years ago.
I was a state finance officer for a few years.
I worked for Samsonite, the luggage company. I was there 22 and a half years.
So it's very important here in Centennial, Littleton, our South Metro area, that we have services that enable people to be in this community, to remain a part of the community.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine.
You guys do help tremendously. And if you weren't there, I don't know what I'd do.
I couldn't get a decent meal. I need, meat and potatoes isn't all of it. I need my vegetables, my fruit, and of course my biscuits.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah.
Don't go away. Simple as that. Don't go away.
You now have a responsibility to give back to help them. They took our businesses and our schools, our churches, made them all the community that you want to live in now. Well, we need to help them remain in this community. So I think it's really important that we look at us as a community, and being part of a community means we take care of each other.
I can only imagine.
And if you're looking for more information about how to support our Advent collection, we have information in our bulletin and in the Words of Hope as well. So keep an eye out for that, and think of all the ways that you can be a blessing to these folks this Advent season. Now, as we enter this time of offering, and as I invite the ushers forward, I once more give thanks for all the ways that hope is a blessing. I give thanks for all the ways that you bless this community and one another with your work, your gifts, your service, and your witness. So, continue to be a people of hope. you know, people